In this interview, SubmitHub CEO exposes the dark myths around going viral, fake streams, and how to get on real playlists and expose your music to real fans. This is one interview you don't want to miss. I got the CEO, creator of SubmitHub, Jason here. Welcome to the podcast, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, dude, tell us or tell people what SubmitHub is. Tell them what it's not and kind of how it got started.
Okay, I'll give you the 60-second rundown if I can.
Yeah.
Um, I started music blogging in 2007, coming off a high from the BitTorrent era. I was getting free music left and right and discovering a lot of stuff. And I think a lot of people found some of their favorite bands at that time. So one of the problems I had with my music blog as it grew bigger and bigger and bigger is that more people wanted to be featured on the music
Yeah.
blog.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I was receiving 300 emails per day, unsolicited, untargeted. So our blog is called Indie Shuffle, and we were featuring indie rock, hip hop, and electronic music, but we were getting a lot of stuff that had zero relevance. And the reason is because people were circulating these spreadsheets, and they were even selling spreadsheets with like a list of 1,000 blogger emails, and you just put them all in BCC and send them off.
Yeah.
So it was bad for us as music bloggers. We weren't getting the songs we were interested in. And so we stopped paying attention. We didn't
Yeah.
look at submissions anymore. I would wake up and my routine was to look at what all the other bloggers were writing about. And
Yeah.
it became this sort of system where we were all regurgitating the same content. And then as an artist, it sucked because you could never get through to us. Maybe
Yeah.
you could hire a publicist who had taken me out for a couple drinks. And so they had a way to actually get me to open my emails. But in general, it sucked. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to come up with a solution. Indie Shuffle's revenue was starting to dip.
Yeah.
Our traffic was starting to dip. The year was about 2015.
Okay.
Spotify was making inroads into the US. People weren't using blogs as much. And so I was sort of in panic mode. I was like, either I got to go back to the corporate world or I got to come up with something. So I decided to solve this problem I had of the 300 emails a day. And in 2015, I launched SubmitHub. And within the first, forget the stats off the top of my head, I think within the first week, we passed 1,000 submissions on the site. I
Wow.
had 20 other music blogs signed up, and the idea just sort of exploded. So
So
a
you
lot of
started
people
with
were into it.
blogs with SubmitHub before the playlists then?
Playlist didn't come along until about 2.5 years later, mid
Wow.
2017. Yeah.
Okay.
So playlisting wasn't even so much a thing in 2015. It was all about
Yeah.
music blogs. That was
Yeah.
still the way to do it. Hype Machine was the king. If you could get funneled into Hype Machine through the music blogs, you could make it. And actually, I think Spotify was even sourcing from Hype Machine to try and trigger on their side what was doing well. So
Yeah.
it was a completely different era. And the original version of SubmitHub was music blogs. But the actual mechanism behind it hasn't really changed much. The idea is, as an artist, you send your music to curators.
Mm-hmm.
You can filter them down by their preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Those curators then have to respond within a certain amount of time, listen to a certain amount of the song, and if they're not going to share it, they have to explain why. And
Yeah.
that same core functionality still exists today. The numbers and metrics have changed a bit. So today in 2025, mid 2025, the rules are currently you have 3 days to respond if you're
Yeah.
a curator. You have to listen for at least a minute. And if you don't like the song, you have to explain why in 20 words or more. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the limits as they exist today.
Mm-hmm.
And that core functionality hasn't changed. What this did to the music industry is it meant that small artists were able to get their music in front of curators, tastemakers, gatekeepers, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
jerks, whatever.
Some of them.
You can, yeah, you can get your music in front of them. Whereas before SubmitHub, what I think a lot of new artists don't realize is that it was next to impossible to actually reach all of those people.
Yeah.
However, I think what SubmitHub and similar platforms have done is because we've democratized this, we've contributed to the fact that there is this overwhelming flood of competition to be heard
Yeah.
and sort of a dilution of it. So today, as a consumer, I can go onto Spotify and find anything I want. But what I mentioned at the start, the blogs, we were regurgitating the same content. Like if someone
Yeah.
posted a new Lana Del Rey song, we were all on it. That actually meant that a few artists were able to blow up. and
Hmm.
get a lot of steam behind them. And today it's a lot more difficult because any artist can hop onto SubmitHub, submit their track, pitch it, get picked up by 8 to 10 curators, start to trigger the algorithm, and hope for the best. So it's not the cause of the saturation, but
Right.
it's definitely a contributing factor to it.
Yeah. And when you say
Yeah,
curators, you've opened up my mind to think that like it's not just Spotify playlists, it's blogs. What else is there on there? Like, can you break that down? Like, who are the? Because when I think curators, and I think what most artists, they automatically think like playlists, like Spotify playlists, but it's
yeah.
more than that.
Look, it's evolved a lot, right?
Yeah.
Today, I don't think you're wrong for thinking that because Spotify is really where it is. And that's a
Mhm.
struggle for a lot of us bloggers. We've lost a lot of our traffic, we've lost a lot of our influence,
Mm,
and people don't sit there and read music blogs anymore.
mm,
So over time, SubmitHub has had music bloggers, YouTube channels,
mm.
SoundCloud reposters. We had the TikTok and Instagram influencers bundled into curators at one point and then spun them out into their own influencer group.
Right.
We've had Twitch streamers. We tried all sorts of things. It's the platform's 10 years old this year.
Yeah.
So we've evolved and seen a lot of stuff. Today, you're not wrong. If
Yeah.
you're thinking curators, you're thinking Spotify,
Yeah.
that's kind of it.
Okay.
But one thing we've done pretty well here is if you are a curator on SubmitHub with a Spotify playlist, we'll automatically sync that playlist across your Apple, your SoundCloud, your YouTube, and all of that. So if you're an artist who gets shared, I don't know if you're doing this with your own curator account, but this playlist syncing means that you're actually shared across all the different DSPs. So
Yeah, I only
it's
got
not,
Spotify playlists with you guys. I don't have I sometimes I'll do the shout out to my Instagram or whatnot. So if I don't add it, but like if it's the song is dope and even and it doesn't fit my playlist, I'll try to do the shout out to my stories at least, which I think is rad that you guys do, but I don't have anything else.
well, let me just tell you, it's super easy. You set up a
Yeah,
free account on YouTube, a free account on SoundCloud,
yeah,
and you hit the sync button, and we create the playlist for you. We keep all the tracks up to date. We make sure that everything's fine, and it's free. So as an artist, this is cool. It's not just about Spotify when you think about playlisters. It's about all of the ecosystems. So
So you're telling me you'll
from
sync all the songs on my playlist and you'll duplicate them on Apple and on that's dope.
automatically.
That's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah, these fingers, they code. They're coding fingers, man.
And that's just more streams for everyone,
Hopefully,
really.
yeah. Look, it's hard to know. You have insights into what you're getting from Apple. I'm not even sure if they break it down by playlist though. So
Not
it's
great.
hard to know, but the idea is the diversification's good.
Yeah,
Putting everything in one bag is not the best idea. I mean,
yeah,
Spotify is definitely still, especially for Western music, the
yeah.
king of
Yeah, when
this.
I show my DistroKid account, like to artists that I'm coaching, just to kind of show them, because they're like, well, what about title and all this stuff? I'm like, look, here's over 100K royalties. Look where the majority of it's coming from. It's coming from Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. But Spotify is just that's just can't force fans to go listen to a platform where they just aren't. You know, you got to kind of go where the people are, right? How many Spotify playlisters, curators would you say you have on the platform? Like
There
active,
was a time, yeah, there was a time when more was better, and our
right,
goal was to try to get as many as possible. Today,
right.
we're shy of 2,000.
Okay.
I think actually we're closer to 1,500
Yeah.
Spotify curators.
Okay.
You can go and see this from submithub.com/curators. But
Yeah.
what we've learned over time is that adding a whole bunch more is not the best route.
No.
There's a lot of competitors to SubmitHub that have cropped up over time. And
Yeah.
for them to catch up, they pretty much have to sign up anyone who's willing to join as a
Yeah.
curator. But we've learned a lot about who we can trust, who we can work with, what sort of patterns we're looking for, how we can manage this at scale. I mean, you've probably experienced this firsthand, some annoying things where we're like, hey, your engagement's dropping, your price is going to
Yeah.
drop. You got to get it back up.
Yeah.
So there's a
I
lot of
love
these
how strict
automations
you
in
guys are,
place.
man. I love how strict you guys are with no copy and paste reviews. Like you said, listening to the song a certain amount. If because if my engagement goes down, I can't charge as much. Like make sure I'm like in this game. You
You're
know,
on it.
you got only 21 hours listening to the song. You only got 10 hours, 9, 5, you know. I've never let a song actually slip through, by the way.
Okay, I've learned lots. I'm guilty, but I still respond to them later. Especially if I'm on the fence. I almost never say yes to a song on the first listen, but
Yeah.
I'll come back and listen 10, 20 times. And like 2 weeks after they've submitted, I'll finally go like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, I'm gonna blog this.
But keep
So
going because I love how because I think it's great that you guys don't just let anyone in and like you hey, you guys turned me down the first time I applied, which
at
I
this
was thrilled.
point, it's almost par for the course. You're probably going to get rejected on your first try. We're looking for
Yeah.
people who are coming back and are serious about it. So what we get is we get close to 100 applications a day from
Wow.
curators who want to join.
Yeah.
We're looking for people who I would say the majority of them have just run up to 1,000 followers as quickly as they can on their playlist because that's our
Yeah.
minimum. And
Yeah.
then they apply. And we go, look, dude, you've been curating for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Are you a curator? Your top
Yeah.
five tracks are your own songs. Like
Yeah.
this is not curation.
Yeah.
And so then you're going to get rejected.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't actually really explain. I'm telling you right now a lot more than most people
Yeah.
get. But we don't explain the reason for this. And what we're looking for sometimes is those people who come back 4 weeks later when they're allowed to,
Yeah.
and they reapply. And then we go, okay, cool. Well, you know
They're
what? You've been
serious.
doing this for 4 more weeks. You've kept
Yeah.
growing. You're serious. You've been
Dude,
updating your
I
playlist.
freaking every artist needs to freaking hear that. Like prove that you're not just a squawker. Like prove that you freaking want this, Like especially like at radio, like I tell artists like don't even go unless you're willing to go for 3 campaigns because most program directors or whatnot, they like why should I let you in unless you're just another like band that's gonna quit? I remember a booking agent even saying that to me. He's like, do you know how many artists have sat in that chair and promised me this and then they just broke up? Like, show me that you're serious. So I freaking love that attitude, dude. And
Yeah, you got to keep coming back.
yeah,
I'm reading this epic like fantasy book right now called The Way of Kings by something Sanderson. But there's this chick in there who keeps on getting rejected by this lady. She wants to mentor her, and she
yeah,
just keeps coming back until the
yeah,
lady's like, "God, what am I going to do to get rid of you?" And she's like, "You're going to teach me.
yeah,
That's what you're going to do."
yeah,
But that persistence is kind of what we're looking for with
yeah,
curators. We want to see that you are curating, not
yeah,
because you're trying to boost your own plays, but
yeah,
because you can handle sitting here, dealing with 10 songs a day, giving them your thoughts, choosing the
yeah,
ones you like, sharing them. So we're looking
yeah,
for curators. Like,
yeah.
what is a curator? Yeah.
How many? What's the percentage of artists that are curators versus just music fans, like actual tastemakers now?
It's a lot more today than
Yeah,
it was 3 years ago.
yeah, yeah,
And I think some of this is owing to folks like Andrew Southworth, who we
yeah,
discussed earlier,
hmm,
discussing these strategies for promoting. One
yeah,
of the popular promotion techniques is to create a playlist
yeah,
of similar style songs to your own,
yeah,
throw yours in at slot 3, 5, 7, whatever,
yeah,
but promote that playlist.
yeah,
And by doing that, you essentially become a playlister. You're also teaching Spotify's algorithm how to do that. And we are, in many ways today, making that even more popular because we launched SubmitHub ads earlier this year. And one of the things that we advise for artists is that instead of promoting your own song, which the average person on Facebook or Instagram has no connection to,
yeah,
instead of promoting that, promote a playlist with artists that they already love
yeah,
and chuck your song in so that they associate it with that. So that strategy for artists promoting has actually turned a lot of artists into curators.
yeah,
And as I mentioned, a lot of the applications we're getting are from people who think, sweet, I threw together a playlist, I've been promoting my own, pumped a bunch of meta ads into it. It's getting streams.
yeah.
Clearly, I can join SubmitHub. And the answer is no, not yet. Like, you got to keep
Right,
doing
right.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just to give people some context, like since I've created my playlist, genre-based playlist, and with you guys, I've generated over 150,000 streams of my own music on those playlists. And that would mean that I probably generated at least another 100, 200,000 of all the other artists are on there. So it's like it's real, right? And it's kind of like I look at it like I could just promote my own playlist, which is fine, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But why not also become a curator and listen to some music, find some collaborations? Because I've met some like I'm shocked at some of the artists, like some pretty big names too, dude. That like it's like dang, like you're like using this right and finding collaborations, relationships, um, and why not get paid, get part of my ad budget paid? Like that's kind of how I
It's a
look
little
at
bit
it.
of arbitrage, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're putting in the ad budget, but you're earning money for submissions and you're promoting your own music. So it is a really good way to do it.
yeah,
Um, but the cat's out of the bag a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not real.
there are a
Not
lot of people
it's
doing
out
it.
there. It's out there, but it's
Yeah.
amazing how many artists still don't. You know what I mean? And I don't. Let's talk about ads. Submit Hub ads soon. Not yet. I got that on my list. But
Okay.
what success stories have you had through Submit Hub as far as like what's some of your maybe your bigger success stories? Um, with
Yeah.
like
So
triggering the algorithm, whatever.
what you'll find with me, Chris, is that we don't put success stories up there. And the answer for you is that I cannot attribute the success of an artist to SubmitHub
Right.
because it's so much more than that, right? It's
Yeah.
a small piece of the puzzle. You can get 100 shares on SubmitHub, pick up tens of thousands of streams.
Yeah.
But if you don't continue
Yeah.
to put out good songs, if you don't have something interesting going on, if you are not able to sell yourself as an artist,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. And
Yeah.
SubmitHub by itself is not going to help you with that. So I'm not going to
Gotcha.
sit here and say SubmitHub can claim success for anyone.
That's
An
good.
artist I do like from Canada, from Quebec, is Men I Trust, who makes sort of a lo-fi rock. They used SubmitHub a lot in the early days of their career. Now, we didn't blow them up. We brought them to the attention of a lot of bloggers and artists and all of that. But the reason they blew up is because they were so darn good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's important to know as an artist, if you're watching this, SubmitHub's not going to blow you up. Groover's not going to
Yeah.
blow you up. None of these are going to blow you up. TikTok's not going to blow you up. It is like a multifaceted thing that you
Yeah.
have to attack from many ways.
Yeah.
SubmitHub is there to help make that part of it easier and more streamlined so that you can
Hmm.
focus on all the other stuff that people are telling you you have to do, like make social media content. Blah,
Yeah.
right? Everyone says
Yeah.
you got to do that.
It's such a fine balance, right? Like, because like what I love about your platform too is you can pitch the song. Like like once you've got it scheduled, you can pitch the song and have curators listen to it before it comes out. Like I have a song coming out this Friday, and we've got about 7 curators committed to it, which I freaking love. But like, yeah, you're right. Like not like you got to do everything that moves the needle. Um, I'm gonna ask a kind of selfish question here for one of my more rock songs, kind of Linkin Parkish. We did 32 recipients. We got 21 shared, so it was about 68%. That's pretty high typically, because isn't the turn down rate or the approval rate, sorry, like more in the 20%, or what is it these days?
It's 31%, but if you
Okay.
go into the artist chat room, you'll feel like it's zero.
Yeah.
Uh, there are a lot of people who know how to use Submit. I would come back to it, who continue to submit to people who've approved them in the past.
Yes.
And for
Yeah, you
those
can
folks,
save your
they
curators
often,
that have approved you, right?
yeah, and actually, a couple days ago, I improved the filtering. If you filter by people who have approved you as an artist or any of the songs, like even if you've got a multi-artist account,
Yeah.
it's actually going to show all of those curators in the feed. So historically, what would happen is that first you got to choose a genre, and that's going to hide a lot of curators, including
Gotcha.
people who've approved you in the past. And they maybe are more flexible in their genres because they know who you are. And
Right.
they don't mind receiving a song that's out of their genres because they're going, cool, this is Manifest. I love Manifest, right?
Yeah.
So I tweaked it a couple days ago where if you do use that filter to show the curators you've already sent to, it knows the genre. It lets you send to any of them. So
Yeah.
that is a great technique, that
Yeah.
repetition coming through. And there are a lot of artists out there who are pulling 50% plus approval rates through this.
Yeah.
Um, that said, 5 minutes on the internet, you're going to find 100 negative stories about SubmitHub. For
Yeah.
every positive story, there's a negative
Yeah.
because of the nature of the game. Everyone thinks their music's good, right?
Yeah. It's unfortunate, because like as a curator myself, it's like, dude, you're taking forever to get to the vocal, let alone the hook. And it's just like, okay, just because I have a rock playlist, your style of rock just is not, it's like it's very the
Yeah.
riches are in the niches. And I always tell them, hey, dude, like you just need to niche down with your pitches because you'll get higher approvals. Because I get turned down too when I go too broad. And I think it's good to go broad sometimes because you might the shotgun approach, but like you got to be prepared
Yeah.
to burn some
If you got the
credits too.
budget, do it. But again, this is one of those things where I run counter to what most traditional business marketing would be. I encourage people to spend a smaller budget, 20 to
Yeah.
$30 for your submission, 6 or 7 targeted curators.
What's the most you've seen? Like what's on the high end? Would you say on approvals? Because like for me, Like this camp, I'm
It's
not sure if
you.
I'm gonna pitch more because I've already pitched 32, dude, and like seven. Like, and
Yeah.
honestly, the song isn't. It's not that it's not good. Like, obviously, I don't want to release songs, but I know it's not like my hit, and so I don't want to keep necessarily burning money. Where some I'm like, this is a freaking banger, and that's where we got more approved. But what's the low? What's the high? Obviously,
I think a fairly safe strategy when you're starting is to A, get your genres right,
yeah,
B, sort the list by genre match from high to low,
yeah,
and C, target curators with an approval rate of 30% or higher. I
yeah,
know there's some bloggers out there who are going to hate me for saying that because music blogs cannot share 30% of their songs very easily, not the good ones.
yeah,
My own music blog, we're at about 10%. Um, but on the Spotify side, 10 curators, 30% or higher, send it out there. If
yeah,
that comes back as a complete dud and you end up well under 30%,
yeah,
it might not be either you've got your genre wrong or
yeah,
your song is just not better than all the other songs coming through. And you mentioned this earlier, right? Like something about pitches and niches and the quality of most of the songs we receive as curators is not bad. It's
yeah,
really not bad.
yeah,
People like the tools are out there for the average artist to make a song that doesn't suck.
yeah, yeah,
But it's
yeah,
not about just not sucking. It's not just about hitting the genre and doing an okay job. There's this magic to a song that like if we knew the answer, we would be that one guy who produces all the songs for all the pop stars, right? That Swedish
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
But we don't have that answer. You're getting close. You got a lot of listeners, but like coming up with a song that people actually like is more than just going through the paces. It's more than
yeah,
that. There's something else to it.
yeah,
So the songs we get are pretty good. 30%, that's a good target for your initial run of Spotify playlisters. If you're coming
yeah,
in well under that, either your genre's wrong or it's time to think about your song. If
yeah,
you're coming in way over that, great. Maybe expand a little bit.
yeah,
But that 30% number is sort of the site-wide average. And there are, as you're selecting your genres, if I'm not mistaken, there are percentages shown for those genres. And there's actually a cool little hidden feature a lot of people don't know. If you're selecting genres in the top right of the box that pops up, there's a genre analytics button.
oh,
You
cool,
click on that, it's actually going to show you all the genres on SubmitHub, how many songs were sent in the last month, what the approval rate, how many curators are receiving that. Like it's a great breakdown of
interesting,
identifying
yeah,
as an artist, if you if like you can make any genre, you just choose
yeah,
that one. But also as a curator, if you're thinking of starting a playlist, you can use that list to identify the underrepresented genres on
yeah,
SubmitHub and possibly grow within that. So there's a lot of friggin' tools on there, man.
yeah,
It's 10 years of coding. I've
yeah.
like,
Well, that's great, man. Like you guys have done a great job. One of the great things you guys have done too, and maybe you can speak into this, is like the playlist checker to know if it's botted. Like I've had students say, "Hey, I got offered to get on this playlist." I'm like, "Here, let me pop it in here." I'm like, "Dude, this thing's botted. It's payola, steak,
oh
clear
yeah.
away." You guys do a really great job on that. What is it that you guys do to keep botted playlists out?
So I coded this many years ago as the background for us to make decisions with applications. So what would happen is the Spotify application would come through, and a lot of the times we already had all of that data and information available because I've been tracking it. So then the members of my team would go through, review those applications, Jamie or Dylan, they're looking at them, they're making these decisions, and they can see the historical follower growth and look for these spikes and that kind of
Right.
thing. About a year and a half ago, Spotify started cracking down on artificial streams. That's a whole different controversial topic to get into. I think they've
Yeah.
done a terrible job of it and they've
Yeah.
punished the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
But fake playlisting on Spotify is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to package up that tool that we were using internally and make it public for people to use.
Oh,
So
cool, man.
all of there's one other really good tool here is Artist Tools, which is run by Aaron. Uh, Artist Tools and Submit a Playlist Checker are slightly different. We both have a lot of data. We both have great follower charts. I think our listener data is more accurate than his listener data.
Mm-hmm.
He's got more automations around flagging fake or potentially dangerous playlists.
Mm-hmm.
All of ours are manually reviewed and flagged. We also have a category that most people don't consider a problem, which is payola, pay
Mm-hmm.
for placement.
Yeah.
I think that's rubbish. It's technically a violation of Spotify's terms. So we flag playlists that are payola as well. But everything you see there, it's done manually. It's mostly Jamie on my team. She gets it. And then there's a button on there where people can report or request a review of playlists. So they can open that up and take a look. So
That's cool.
the playlist checker is a great way to identify if something's dodgy. And you can click around a lot of different things. Like you can click on an artist and see all the playlists that they're in. So sometimes a really handy way, let's say there's a playlist that we haven't flagged yet, but look at all the small artists in that playlist and see if they're all in the same playlists.
Yeah.
If they're all in the same playlist, something dodgy is probably going on. There's a network out there that's promoting their music. So that's a red flag. We do go through, and sometimes I'll just sit down for 10 minutes and just flick through playlists and flag them because it's so easy to find.
Dude, it's important, man, because like obviously it's out there and everybody wants streams or monthly listeners, and it's just like you pay to get on this stuff, and then you end up either getting that email of death where your song's getting removed or your streams are getting removed. But it's really sad that artists get lured into this stuff, which is a bummer. As far as promoting, so we talked about like meta ads, Instagram, Facebook ads, growing our playlist. A lot of artists get their accounts. Unfortunately, Mr. Zuckerberg, especially during the first Trump administration, was just banning accounts left, right, and center. And still to this day, some artists are getting their accounts banned. And so I've been telling them to use the SubmitHub ads to grow their playlists and promote. Can you talk about the Pixel? Talk about that. I'll be honest, I have not run them yet. I haven't actually run a SubmitHub ad because obviously I'm pretty good with my own meta ads, but I've heard some good stuff, man. Can you
There's good and there's bad. You've run ads yourself. You know that they don't always work. No. There's no magic to it. Really, what we're doing is we're setting up and running ads for you. For a lot of artists, it's not worth the time and investment learning how to do ads, learning how to deal with Meta's dashboard, ad sets, creatives, all that stuff. They just don't have the resources for it. They want to make music, man. So the tool is there primarily for people who don't want to do it themselves. I don't think we could do it better than you. You can do it better. You know your own music. You know the visuals you want to it. You know the exact portion of the song you want.
Yeah.
And that's not the point of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make it super easy for people so that they don't have to think about it. So when you create a campaign on SubmitHub for your ad, we take care of the copy, all the text that goes out, the headlines, that type of stuff. We take care of the visuals that go out as well.
Yeah.
We're not using AI or anything. Tilly from our team, she's doing a fantastic job going through every single one of these ads, actually coming up with 6 visuals. So we submit 6 videos for each one. Wow. Then Meta does their A/B testing. They come back with the one that's doing well. If an ad is sucking after the learning phase, then we're going to go in. We're going to take a look at it. Should we change the visuals? Should we change the targeting? Sometimes the song's just not that good. Can't do much about that, right?
Yeah.
We're giving people updates. Here are the stats. Our dashboard for analyzing your ads, looking at the results, I hope is a lot more clear than Meta's version of it. And you can sort of track your conversions per credit. So everything's quantified in credits.
Is it per
it's
click
confusing.
that you guys are giving back? Like, let's just say, our homie John Gold at Hyped It, we always, for a playlist click, we try to go for 20 cents or less. If you get 10 cents, 8 cents, that's a friggin' banger. How would you compare that as far as people? And again, I haven't run. I need to run them for my own experience and also share with students and stuff. But like, what would you say is like average click-through rate or low?
You can break it down into playlists versus everything else. So tracks, albums, and artists. On the playlist side, you as a curator can exchange your credits at a discount, and we actually invest more in the ads than you give us. Slight flaw in my system, benefit for you, but it's also good because artists ideally are getting more plays from your shares. It's good for the ecosystem.
Right.
We're typically looking at a good rate being around 15 to 20 cents.
Yeah.
Per conversion. The conversion is when someone lands on a SubmitHub link, the landing page, and then clicks over to Spotify.
Actually clicks.
Where it gets...
That's great.
Yeah. We're not talking about the clicks that happen on Meta.
No.
So that's step one, right?
That's a big difference. That's like the first click. You want the second click really is the conversion.
Yeah, we're only counting the second click, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I assume that's what you and John are talking about as
Yeah,
well when
that's what it
you're
would
doing
be.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything's about the second click. And then you want to send that back with your conversion token and your pixel to Meta so that they can push that to more people.
Yeah.
That's the goal here.
Love it.
If a playlist is doing two or fewer conversions per credit, that in our mind is performing below average.
Right.
Either your playlist isn't good, your targeting's not good, or Meta is just doing their thing and being a total poopy pants about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which they do for some time for no reason.
Yeah.
Anything five conversions and above per credit is great. For you as a curator, a credit is 50 cents. So that's a 10-cent CPM. Then it gets tricky, man. Like we currently have about 1,000 active ads. We've set up 3,000 total. There's like things you got to look out for. For example, sometimes Meta's just pumping them full of conversions. Like, wow, these rates are great. And then you notice there's no followers picking up on the playlist.
Mm.
What's going on there? Is it India?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
Bangladesh? Like, so a lot of countries we have blacklisted. We won't even run ads on there. They're not
Yeah.
even an option for you to choose. But yeah, there's a lot that we're still learning that we still
Hmm.
need to get better at. How do we manage 1,000 ads at a time?
Yeah.
Not many people are doing that. It's not
Dude,
easy.
that's insane.
Um,
The fact that you guys will edit them and
yeah,
fix them to make them better if they're getting not the great CPM, because like that's the thing, right? Like you got to keep like sometimes I've let depending on how big my budget is, but like, just to keep things running, like just at a nice 10 cents or whatever, I just set it and forget it. But what's wild is just recently, literally like a day or two ago, yeah, Zuckerberg and it just prices skyrocketed. And I'm wondering if just the conversion isn't clicking or something, because I'm looking at like the CTR, the click through rate is still what it was, but it's saying my conversions are costing like way more. And just to be
it's a
totally
black box,
transparent,
right?
I
They
gotta
can
keep
just
bringing
do this whenever
fans.
they want.
Yeah, yeah,
They can just do it. It hits us too. We're not
yeah,
immune to it, so we're not doing anything magic. We're doing the
yeah,
same thing you are. It's just that those 1,000 artists don't really want to do it themselves.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's cool because yeah, there was one I was dealing today. It's been running his ad for 4 months. It's
yeah,
dying. Why is it
yeah,
dying? Have
yeah.
you run out of people to show it to, Meta, or are you just like,
It's just
hey, this guy
exactly.
forgot his subscription was
I
on.
don't.
Why don't we just do this and
And it
charge
takes
more
a
money?
big budget to really have an ad fatigue, man. Like you got to be spending a lot, and especially as how many if you're going worldwide as well too, because there's just such a massive
A lot of
audience.
people aren't.
Yeah,
So I mean that is another one is the targeting. And which countries you go for. It's going to vary by genre. It's going to vary
yeah,
by your goal.
yeah,
If you are an artist trying to push a track
yeah,
or your own artist profile or an album, we're typically not going to recommend you pump Brazil or India or
yeah,
things like that. Try
yeah,
to keep it local.
yeah,
That's more expensive and more difficult. And so 10% of our ads are under or basically running at 1 credit per conversion, which is like 60 or 70 cents.
okay,
Which I don't actually think is thinking about it. That's not bad. When I watch Andrew or John from Two Story Media going on about it, like
yeah,
when they're pushing tracks or albums, 60 or 70 cents to them is not doing great, but it's not a train wreck.
yeah.
Uh,
I yeah, I find like I've got to test a lot more creatives, and because there's this one song that's actually been a hit song for me. It's got 6 million streams. It's called Save You. I actually haven't even I was planning on doing like an anniversary pitch in
do
SubmitHub.
it as the intro and outro track here.
Yeah.
You can get me dancing to it.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it. But I couldn't get it to work on ads, man. Like, and so I kept on testing ads, and then finally I got something that worked. You know what I mean? But I was stuck at that higher click through rate. So like artists just need to test more creative.
Yeah, look, I think what I found nice here, so I mentioned this earlier, but with playlist submissions, a lot of artists get upset. Their ego gets burst.
Yeah.
They don't enjoy it. I wouldn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it when people talk shit about SubmitHub.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like when people talk shit about your music in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the ads, people have been a lot more forgiving. They understand a little bit more that this is not a guarantee,
Right.
and not every
Right.
song is going to succeed.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I mentioned on the curation side, songs aren't that bad.
Yeah.
On the ad side, we do deal with a lot of songs that I don't think are ready.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Occasionally we reject them just because we're like, dude, this it's just not, you're singing off key.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
singing off
Put that
key.
money
We
into a
it's like
producer, bro. Put it into a producer in a
yeah.
songwriting session. They'll
So
rewrite it.
you have to put that very delicately.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I think when I say 10% of ours are doing, under one conversion per credit, which is bad,
yeah,
most of those are because the quality of the content is not great.
yeah, yeah. I believe it, man. I believe it. So a couple more things here. I don't want to keep you too long, but as far as we touched on it briefly, like posting on social media and the whole thing. And obviously there's a lot of success stories. You got the Nick D, the Connor Price, these guys that have just driven millions of streams of social media. And I know it works, not so much because I've had songs go viral, or I should say posts go viral. But I've had other people use my songs in their music, and like we've blown up in Taiwan, China, like all over the place,
Hmm,
and it just drove streams. Like literally a week or two ago, somebody used my song on a YouTube short, and it got like over 2 million streams on YouTube, and it
nice.
upticked my Spotify. And last week I took a post that I had already posted, but again, I'm personally just still really like trying to study this thing because I believe in it, right? And I reposted it, different captions, exact same video, and I think total we got like 15,000 streams across social media. And again, my stream spiked. It actually gave me a double on that song, so I can see it really did it. But like I get social media is frustrating or whatnot. And again, SubmitHub has stepped in with social influencers where you can hire somebody on Instagram or TikTok to use your song. But you guys have a lot of warning signs about, and you guys I love how honest you guys are. And so, do you want to speak about that service and what people can expect? I've used it a little bit. It's expensive for some of the bigger influencers. I'll be honest, man. Like curators need to get paid more, bro.
And yet it's cheap because if you go through an agency, they're going to be charging you a
Yeah,
thousand dollars plus per
yeah,
share.
that's true.
So we've undercut the market significantly here, but the quality is also taking a hit as a result. So there's
Mm,
a lot of people on there who will share your song for 10, 20, or 30 credits,
mhm.
which is a lot less than these agencies.
Yeah,
I and the rest of the team do not strongly believe that the influencer marketing is an effective way to grow as an artist. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. I think in our whole time doing this, we know of one artist that managed to go viral through the SubmitHub stuff.
interesting.
And that was in part because his special request where he got influencers to do stuff was so effective. He actually developed a little app that you use in TikTok, like one of those little games, and he got them all to play that game, which was something like who can tap the most hearts, and the song was called Hearts, and that worked
Oh,
really, really well. So
interesting.
so he had a lot of success from that. But it's difficult. So I was at Primavera Sound last week in Barcelona, and they've got a music conference, and I went to go to this talk about how to market yourself digitally in 2025. And I didn't raise my hand and be like, "Hey, I'm SubmitHub." Um,
Yeah.
they said, playlisting is dead, blogging is dead, everything's dead except for TikTok, and you should be buying a bunch of TikTok posts. And then they went through these examples where they're like, we have realized something that like no one's ever figured out, which is that you should do cat and dog videos. So find all the accounts that just do memes of cats and dogs and get your songs on that. And boom, like 300 million views overnight, right? None of that actually goes. I'm surprised to hear that you had an uptick on Spotify, and I'm hoping that maybe the explanation is that your content was about the music in some way.
Yeah, yeah, it was. So the post was literally, my song was featured in the NHL. So I posted a clip
Yeah.
of it, but I posted it 2 weeks ago and I just posted the clip. But the second time I posted it, I had a really big caption. I can't believe my song was on TV or whatever. And
Fantastic,
I
right?
framed it a lot differently.
Yeah, and that I think that's an excellent way to do it. People are gonna be stoked for you. Like it's the classic, it's like a Reddit post.
Right.
So it's a great way to do it. These guys are out there pushing pop stars through hundreds of millions of TikTok accounts. They're getting all these UGC videos.
Right.
user-generated content on cat and dog meme pages, the follow through to Spotify is flippin' abysmal on those. It
Yeah.
just does
Yeah.
not come out well.
Yeah.
If you are a small independent artist, don't bother with it. The influencer
No.
stuff is not worth it. Most of the people using our influencer stuff are the major labels. Like Universal is on SubmitHub pushing 5, 10 grand through a song so they
Yeah.
can pick up 300, 400 shares.
Yeah.
That's what they want. And then they can go back to their, oh, I hope they're not watching this, but then they can go back to their manager or their client and be like, we picked up 5 million TikTok views on this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and no one's ever going to ask, but wait, did that go through to Spotify?
Right.
Wait, did that increase their following? Did that do this?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. You're shouting into the noise.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really quick way to lose a lot of money hiring influencers. But doing it yourself, like you're doing, going to be far more effective. So my look, and it's not just music, right? I've got some friends who've worked in influencer marketing, and I did have a chat with someone at Primavera Sound about this, and she was saying she worked in the fashion industry, and they used to send out all the stuff to influencers and pay them a bunch of money, and it never fucking moved the needle.
Right.
Maybe their
And
fashion sucked. I didn't ask that, but
yeah.
like
Yeah.
these guys are asking for a lot of money to share this stuff. It's not going to work. Bring it all back here. If you're an independent artist, I think for those of you who are willing to perform, it's much better to focus on your local market.
Mm.
To be a tadpole in a pond is
Yeah.
way better than being plankton in the ocean. And
Yeah.
if you're out here, even if you're out there trying to push your stuff on TikTok, even Spotify, even the playlisting, none of it's going to be as effective as going to a coffee shop and playing music for real people. And
Mhm.
those are the types of connections that you want to make. That retention is a lot more. So, like if you were to list out all the ways you could market your music, I would put hiring influencers toward the bottom, making social media content way higher.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
the last time I touched the code for the influencers has been about 3 years.
Yeah.
It just works, it runs,
Yeah.
but I don't recommend people use it. And
Yeah.
that's why you see all those warnings as you're like creating a
Yeah.
submission. Are you sure you want to do this?
You're
Do you know
very
what you want
honest. It's
to?
you're literally
Yeah.
like pushing people away almost. And I
I'm
get it,
kind of
man.
pushing people
Like,
away. Yeah.
but like I know a lot of people have used it, and just even to have all those videos, social proof, I think could help when the day of release. I think there's something to be said, triggering the algorithm if you get enough of them. But like you said, labels and being willing to have deep pockets. But like, because you brought it up, it made me think like what moves the needle. And so, like I said, like I got 15,000 streams around the song, and my Shazams went through the roof. Spotify went up, right? But that the person that used my song that got 2 million views, I just looked at the song to see what was the actual bump, and so I was getting like 3,000 streams a day on this song, and so I can see it jumped up to 4,700 and 4,000, and so it's not actually a significant jump compared to what was, especially for 2 million streams. And it's
2 million. Yeah,
because
that's viral, right?
my music wasn't the center thing. It was some video game thing. Mine was just the background music. But if I had gotten
Mhm.
2 million streams or views on my post where it was around the song, I think the,
Yeah.
the impact would have been way
Try it
different. You know what
again.
I
Try
mean?
it again. Repost.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna keep reposting. Well, dude, this is super helpful, man. I appreciate it. What are you excited about? What other advice would you have for artists and just using the platform, and just any even music marketing advice, man? Because you've been in this game for a while.
For the majority of artists out there, making music as a passion project, you support it with your job. And I think it's important to make sure that it is still an enjoyable creative outlet and that you're not setting yourself up for disappointment if you don't hit the numbers. You're
Mm,
probably never going to hit the numbers that you want. Even the big pop stars, constantly stressed out about things going down.
yeah,
There are 5 or 10 of them that are so high at the top that they don't care as much, right? Taylor Swift, but
yeah,
all those lesser like top 100 artists on Spotify, a bunch of them are probably still stressed out, still not happy with their goals, still not reaching it, still not doing what they want. And I think it's easy to get lost in those numbers and lost in all of that and forget that what you really like doing is making music.
it's good.
And I think what's really cool about musicians and about all of us on the internet doing stuff is that we're not just sitting in front of the TV, flipping through channels, vegging out. You're doing something. You're being productive, and you're doing that. And I think you got to be aware. There's a couple 100,000 songs being released a day. Everyone's shouting for attention. You're competing against today's crop, yesterday's. You're competing against the artists from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
Dead people.
You're competing against dead people, maybe grateful dead people. In light of all that, I think it's just important to make sure that what you're doing every day is something you like.
Dude, that's
Because,
so
yeah, if you go into it with a level head,
Yep.
you're probably not going to be a famous artist.
Yeah.
And that's not why you should be doing it. And a lot of the artists who are famous just make it look so flippin' easy because they weren't even trying to do it. They were just making music. So,
having fun.
another thing I like to think about, slight tangent, but musicians today are doing it all. Like you do meta ads, you do social media, you make music, you're doing interviews here, you're a curator. You're picking up a bunch of skills. Even if your music never succeeds and you never see what you're looking for, you now know how to do meta ads. You might know how to build a website or a landing page. You know how to like do playlists. You know how to make a video. So you're picking up all these skills as well. And even if the music doesn't do well, there's a lot you've learned in the process. So I think all of those things are important to keep in mind from a mental health standpoint. And if you're just focused on streams and success, you're probably never going to be satisfied, no matter how well you do.
I hope you loved that interview and it inspired you to want to become a creator as well and grow your own playlist with meta ads. As I mentioned in the interview, I put together a book called Playlist Profits, which shows you step by step on how to build your own playlist, run ads to it, get to that 1,000 followers mark, because that's what you need to have as a minimum, how to keep growing the playlist, and then how to apply and become a curator and also get approved doing it the legit way. But also I have 2 case studies in here on how we triggered the algorithm. Not only did we get the streams, we took one song from 200 to 2,000 streams, but then we triggered the algorithm and then it just flew it to the moon, okay? Because the point of the algorithm is, look, you hustle the streams by running ads on your own playlist, and then Spotify's algorithm picks up on it, and then it starts sharing the song via radio, Discover Weekly, My DJ, and more. I'll put the link below this, and also make sure you submit your songs on SubmitHub and keep growing those streams. Peace.